Good Thursday evening, everybody. Meteorologist Casey Cloud here in the Weather Center right now, coming on the air because once again we have life-threatening flash flooding there occurring around Valdosta. I know all that rain last night, schools being impacted in the area there, according to media reports, and now a lot more rain on top of what happened. The ground's already so saturated there, and now you're just getting a lot of moisture to fall. Doppler in the last hour has shown some areas here in the vicinity picking up over 3 inches of rain, and this could be underdoing it a little bit. So we already had, around a foot of rain last night, give or take, depending on where you're at around Valdosta, despite a lot of the other areas of our region not getting much rain at all. Valdosta's been absolutely hammered, and it's getting hammered once again here. So this is a particularly dangerous situation for Valdosta here. It's at night again where we're getting the convergence of all this right over town there, right around I-75, right into toward downtown. There's already a report of flooding there as we're looking at things toward, it looks like Ashley Street there in downtown Valdosta. Last night there was a report of 2 feet of water on a road. Some folks having to be evacuated because the flooding was so bad there, happening so rapidly. The rain rates with this are very similar, maybe not quite as high as the peak last night, but it's not far off. And it's a life-threatening situation once again there in Lowndes County, Georgia, a part of our 62 counties. I know it's so weird because a lot of our area hadn't got much rain. You're probably wondering, like, what in the world? But, this is the storyline there. They're covering the map. Just to give you perspective, Lowndes County, I know that's where, Valdosta is. That's where that Wild Adventures theme park area is as well. So this for geographic reference, but these are our 62 counties we covered. That's one of them, and they've been getting hammered. I know you saw Ware County on there, and I might go ahead and I'll just pop it up one more time. They did have a base flood warning. It was not a flash flood warning, so we didn't put that out. Though it looks like they ended up having some flash flooding conditions in at least an isolated spot in Waycross earlier. They had 4 or 5 inches of rain, give or take, which, still bad, but the Valdosta's had something like that probably in the last hour on top of what they've already had, yesterday, which was probably around a foot. So that's a lot worse around Valdosta still, but we're getting reports in Waycross of a video shared via social media of minor flooding near Alice Street, but then standing water in a vehicle partially submerged, and that was around 5:45. At the same time frame, images and video via social media in southeast Waycross showed parking lots with standing water and then some partially submerged vehicles. So, but in Valdosta, honestly, the way this weather pattern's heading up, we could have vehicles getting totally submerged into Ward Lowndes County as we bring it back on over to the radar right now. We could have, lives truly, in danger here once again in Lowndes County. Again, it's not a flash of emergency yet, but it's one step away, but it's above the base level now. It's a considerable threat, a life-threatening warning here for Valdosta. It's not what you want to see. At 7:06, emergency management reported heavy rain across the warned area. Flash flooding already occurring around Ashley Street in downtown Valdosta. Valdosta Lake Park, I-75 exit 16 there. Some of the spots being impacted as we're looking toward that area. And then even getting further, Rimerton Dasher, Valdosta Airport, I-75 exit 11. Twin Lakes, Kinderloo, I-75 exit 5. Clyattville, I-75X and 22 and Naylor as well. So this is a very serious situation for Valdosta. Once again, yet again here, they were hit so hard last night, and now this is adding insult to injury there in the Valdosta area. Just not good at all for those poor folks there around Valdosta. It's a situation here where, some areas were flooded last night. Already having problems there last night. In this type of situation, and now it's just, making things worse. Some homes, damaged last night, and now it's the second night of this around Valdosta, there in Lowndes County. That's very problematic. Turnaround dogs around when encountering flooded roads. Most flood deaths occur in vehicles. The especially causes at night when it's harder to recognize the dangers of flooding. So again, they had the flooding last night there. Waters tried to go down some in different neighborhoods, but now they're back up yet again. So not what you want to hear, not what you want to see as we're looking at this scenario. You just got to be very cognizant of what's going on here. You just don't want to be caught in this. It's so isolated in nature, but it's very problematic. I know there are some other counties under a flood watch in the vicinity, so let me go ahead and break that down for you guys. As we're looking at things, a flood watch in play for, it looks like Jefferson, Inland Jefferson, as well as areas there of Madison, Thomas, Brooks, Lowndes, and Lanier until 1 a.m. So that's kind of the vicinity where we could have issues. We shall see. Just, in the overall grand scheme of things, I know Raphael is still out there. Let me pull that up because, it's not directly from it, but the overall pattern is an indirect impact from Raphael, which is still a hurricane out there in toward the Gulf of Mexico. So there you go with that. You can see, expected to dive off toward the south eventually, but just kind of, you can kind of see it a little bit with the clouds today. The overall pattern, because it is a little bit further north than it was yesterday. I mean, you can kind of see that connection here indirectly in the overall meteorological pattern. So, again, that's kind of the storyline there. I mean, it's well defined on the infrared satellite. That's really looking pretty, structured here. Let me see if the 7 o'clock update, I hadn't had a chance to look at that here. Winds at 105 miles an hour. It is slightly stronger than it was earlier on, slightly more organized. So that's kind of interesting to take into account here as we're looking at the situation. Slightly stronger, slightly more organized. But luckily, this isn't that far off of where Milton was, but this is going the opposite direction pretty much here. I mean, almost due west at this point. But the point is, it's a situation where that's some good news, at least, as we're looking at things. But let's put on water vapor imagery. That might kind of help things a little bit in terms, you can kind of see the moist air at the upper levels versus the dry air that's just a little ways away. Let me take the wind radius off here real quick, and you can kind of see what I'm talking about here. So an odd situation in some ways here, as we're looking at things just on that very, northern periphery here at this point of some moisture here in the upper levels, and they're getting that transported down to the lower levels. We're way above average in terms of the temperatures for this time of year. Let me go ahead. That's the dew points, and that shows the moisture to lower levels. And here's the temperature. These are very warm here as we're looking at things right now for sure. And that is noteworthy. As we say here, this is your general thunderstorm outlook. So have some lightning in some of these areas, but nothing that's, overwhelming in that regard. Haven't had any tornado warnings or severe thunderstorm warnings toward our area, so that's good. We've had all these flash flood warnings popping up here and there, and definitely causing some issues here. So let me go ahead and see a 12-hour rainfall, and this was going down for, a while around Valdosta. Going up, it's going to keep going up. This is Waycross. I mean, some of these areas getting, 5 inches of rain or so. Earlier on, they're not under a flash flood warning. They never were under a flash flood warning. They're, not for a rapid water rise in theory, but some isolated areas did get it. But this is probably more widespread around Valdosta here at this point in time because of what happened last night. And just, this is adding on top of that and making things even more treacherous here once again. You see, most of the area not really getting rain, but it's all about this area right in here. And if this had, fallen on ground here that was really dry, it'd be one thing. But now, it's not dry anymore. It's very, very moist in terms of we can't, get that water to go down. And we're getting a report now on social media that Stacks Road around Clientville was underwater. That's according to the Weather Service in Tallahassee. So we're getting roads underwater here. I mean, it's not taking near as much to meet flash flood criteria tonight as it would have last night. And you're already getting up to scale quick because this is falling rapidly here. Once again, around Valdosta. I'm going to go over our storm total map now in terms of rain, and its color scale isn't the greatest, but it does factor in yesterday, and I can query some stuff on my end. You guys can't see it on your screen, but I'll tell you what I'm looking at. So you see here my mouse now, okay, and then in all this area, this is all 5+ inches in the gray, at least 5 inches, going back to yesterday. It's a pretty big corridor, but right down here is 6, 7 inches. That's still bad, but it's more rural areas. They can handle it somewhat. Getting up here, that's about 9 inches. But as we get in here, I'm seeing some totals on radar. 14 inches right in there, going back into yesterday. 9, 10 inches, 14 inches, 15 inches, 16 inches I'm seeing now. And that's radar, and that's going to be 17 inches right in there where the mouse is right now. 17 inches since yesterday here around Valdosta, some areas. That's according to radar, and that's going to underdo it some with tropical downpours. So we're talking about some areas getting 20 inches of rain probably at this point since yesterday. So you had a little break there, obviously, earlier today. But, the water's not going to go down here that quickly at all. And now getting another event on top of this is very bad. The 17 inches is right. Let me get it up again. It's really not easy because it's very, very quickly actually on here. But I'll kind of I'm moving my mouse around. I see 12, 13, 14. It varies quickly here as you go from one spot to the other on my end. Again, I have a scale up where I can see higher than just 5. In fact, I may pull up another system. It may do a better job because I think I can query that on the screen. Oh, radar scope tool. I think that might be better. But this is, I saw 17.5 right there. That's right there between Howell Road and State Road 94. So that's probably where we got 20 inches of rain since yesterday. It's going back. When I say since yesterday, count yesterday. But I'm going to go to our other source here. It may take me a second because I don't have it up yet. So I got to pull this in manually here. But I think it's important to kind of show this for everybody at home. One of our different sources here, because you'll be able to kind of see what I'm talking about a little bit better, because that gray, it doesn't tell the story maybe. So let me go ahead and pull this in. See if it does go back since 1205, and they've changed the scale, at least, when I say they've changed it, it's a better scale at least to use color-wise. So let's go to that, because that's going to help us a lot better to kind of figure this out. And there you go. So, okay, so we're talking about, this is 16.5 inches. This is since, technically, and it wasn't all at that point. It was a lot last night and a good bit now. It never breaks, obviously. But going back since, just to, kind of give it a little bigger window maybe than even what it requires. This is going back about 43 hours or so, if I'm doing the math right here. Yeah, 12:05 a.m. yesterday morning, and you just saw the latest update. So let's go in here. That's some of these areas here. That's 17 inches of rain on radar. This right here is 17.64 inches of rain going back here. This is, we'll just say 2-day totals here at this point. But again, it's probably been more over the last 24 hours than anything as we're looking at things. There was a break earlier today, but this is not what you want to see, obviously. These are very, very high rainfall totals, and this really causes problems. And again, I see 17.5. Well, actually, this is going to underestimate some. So in some of this area, let's just say, and this, it could even be a little higher here, but let's just say 20 inches. We're talking about 20 inches of rain here. I know I'm kind of drawing this manually, and I just want to kind of add, to the storyline here. I'll put a dot there to abbreviate that. I know that's not maybe the best way to do it, but you kind of get the idea. We're talking about some of these areas getting around 20 inches of rain right in here on the southeast side of Valdosta, give or take. And this is, just kind of giving you a general idea there. So it may go up a little bit further north, but it's kind of hard to do that on the fly, but you kind of get what I'm talking about. So, this is all around town. Let's zoom out a little because we'll do the pixel query. You see 8, 9 inches in some of these areas. You see, again, this is closer, again, to 20 inches, but in the north side of Valdosta, that's 15 inches. It's not like, some of Valdosta really didn't get too much. West side of town, over a foot of rain. as we're looking at things. Southwest, going away maybe 14 inches. This has been a Valdosta flood event, maybe for the record books almost at this point. I mean, that's, very, very significant to take into consideration as we're tracking this. Let me go ahead and just continue to watch. Again, these are extreme rainfall totals here. Absolutely extreme. We have that warm air, we have all that tropical moisture, but let me go to some of the other areas. So, now the time frame of some of these radars is different. So let me just, if you get too far away, you're going to get it to underdo it. But, as you're looking toward Tallahassee, talking a couple inches, give or take. Again, it could be underdoing it some. I just don't want to change the time frame. Because if I go, too far away, it's not going to estimate it right. But still, it's probably at the edge of where the estimates are pretty reliable. That's about almost a half inch, give or take. And then as we go up toward Waycross here, that doesn't look like much, but when you look at it, it's still 5-6 inches, but that's nothing, even though it was dangerous and serious. That's nothing compared to this corridor. I'm going to try to draw this the best I can as we kind of draw, do this, and this kind of makes it encompass it. Here's some areas that didn't get much rain because of the way I'm drawing this. I'm not very good at drawing this. Let me start over on that because that goes too far out. I don't use this too much, but I think it's important because we don't have the color scale up exactly. So let me do this. Let me just kind of follow the purple here and just draw from all that. So we'll just kind of try to do that pretty good here to kind of trace it. That'd probably be the best way to do this here in the illustration as we're looking at this right now. So that's what I'm kind of trying to do, and then I'll kind of tell you what that amount is at the lowest. So we'll just kind of trace this here live with you guys on the air. So again, just trying to give you the very latest information. And then I'm going to go ahead and look at that. So if you can kind of see it, even if I go down to scale a little bit, I'm talking about most of that area there, 7+ inches at least at the minimum in that area that I traced in the blue there. So that's very significant, very serious stuff, my friends, when you're talking about that type of rainfall total. So that's in that blue traced area. And let's see, I'm putting the other radar back on now. And then you can kind of compare and contrast. Let me switch over to the super resolution on this. That'll help us. And you see there's some very heavy rainfall in some of this area right now, right around Valdosta. That's not what you want to see, obviously. With that rainfall, and it's very heavy right along that I-75 corridor. Again, I traced the actual rainfall that was about 7+ inches here in the event. So that's where that blue circle is coming from. I'm gonna take it off now, but you kind of get the idea of what I'm trying to display there. Let me go ahead and go back to the other view of this as we continue along. Let me just continue along here with the coverage, trying to keep you guys safe and informed. I know we have Jess watching on Facebook. He says this was rough, and depending on where you are right now, it may still be rough with this heavy rain coming down, maybe even worsening conditions, depending on exactly where folks are within the viewing circle. But again, a really serious situation, really serious scenario here as we're looking at this, as we're tracking it. Again, just trying to give you the very latest here on what's going on in this situation. Again, right around I-75, and I'll back this up a little. It has, some of these areas have seen a little bit less rain in the last few minutes right in Valdosta, so that's good. But, I-75 near and west, it seems, is where this is starting to translate to a little bit. So maybe this won't go on as long here, as what it has, maybe like last night. I know we had to be on for an hour plus twice there because of the seriousness of the situation. So, again, watching this very carefully, trying to give you the very latest information here on exactly what's happening. I know We also have wildfire conditions out toward California here that are a big deal. And the dew points out there, I mean, it's the complete opposite with the very low dew points as we're looking there. So definitely interesting to mention. Let me go ahead and kind of show here what that might be in terms of some of that. Let me go to our other source because there's a lot going on here meteorologically across the country. So you see some of these are just very, very bone dry conditions. But then you contrast, some of that with areas like toward Texas. They have severe thunderstorm watches and a warning in place and flash flood warning there. But then between, you have very cold conditions. We've had a lot of snow and even more snow is falling right now. It's a very nasty winter situation as we're looking towards some of these spots. I mean, it's not a winter scenario that you want to have to deal with if you can help it. I mean, because some of these areas, I mean, we're getting reports. I mean, our system here, you see the one marker that says 18 inches. Well, actually, on this source, it's the highest it'll estimate. That's actually, we've had a report of 36 inches of snow here north of Santa Fe in New Mexico. 36 inches of snow in San Miguel County. San Miguel County, their cows are waist deep there in snow. So, some crazy weather patterns here going on. The wildfire activity out west because of the low dew points. Temperature is pretty warm, but the dew points on this graphic and view here are very low. As you're looking at snow, the temperatures are very low, and you have all that snow, Colorado, New Mexico, and you have the storm axis in Texas there getting further east, and then you have Raphael, and on the water vapor, you can see indirectly that's influencing our flash flooding. That's a considerable life-threatening danger around Valdosta. So crazy to see that there for sure as we're looking at things. And now there is a small 5% tornado risk around San Angelo and Abilene as we're looking at things on some of our maps further off toward the west. But further off east, let's put on the infrared satellite. You see the influence. Let's go 4 hours back. And then I want to put on the visible satellite. And you can kind of see the influence there in the meteorology as well. I mean, we had some flash flood warnings 4 hours ago, like around Savannah. There were reports of stranded vehicles around there. So it was a life-threatening situation as we were looking earlier on in the afternoon hours. So not what you want to have to deal with there as you're getting up towards Savannah. That was earlier on, of course, in toward the timeline as we were tracking things here in toward the weather center. But again, trying to give you the latest here on everything. I know you guys are way cross, so I switched this over out of winter mode to the other mode here, reader mode that you're more used to seeing. You can see White Cross is dried out. They've had a flood warning in play here as we were looking earlier on. And let me just kind of see the comparison here. We have a graphic that kind of indicates how we approach these to some degree. I know we had some of this earlier on in the summer time frame after Debbie, but before Helene, we had a lot of rain around like Fernandina Beach and some of those areas there, and we weren't making too big about regular flood warnings, even though they can still be dangerous. But here's kind of the difference. Flood warnings generally can mean, and not always, but generally longer term flooding, still dangerous. They have a tendency to impact more flood prone areas, but not always. But some of the worst of flooding, so let's say around Waycross, just in theory, not 100% sure about this, but it would make more sense that it would be more about the flood prone areas getting that, and the areas that don't get flooding aren't going to get it generally too bad in this. It may have been a little worse than that in spots. It's possible. It also doesn't set off whether it is in general less urgent. Still can be life-threatening for sure, but the point is it's a tendency to impact more flood-prone areas. However, flash flooding can impact pretty much anybody. I mean, we're seeing it around Valdosta. I mean, some roads have literally been inundated with water so much they're just submerged in water. And we've had reports of last night 2 feet of water on a road. And we were talking about a catastrophic situation last night. Folks even had to be evacuated. Considerable. I know once it went to considerable, your phone would have went off again. But just even the base warning was set off the weather radio as there's more urgent concern with these. Higher potential to quickly bring danger to people and property through a rapid water rise. So not a good situation around Valdosta here, but still, not, still not great weather, obviously, around Waycross earlier on. As we go ahead and keep looking at things here in the Warner Weather Center, just trying to give you the very latest here on what we're dealing with. I know we mentioned this last night, but we have to mention this again here. I mean, Helene came through there September 26th, last September 27th, and in Valdosta, and they're still recovering. They still have blue tarps on the roof. Some folks still trying to get assistance here, and getting assistance because of the storm. As we're looking at Valdosta there, I mean, Debbie impacted some of these areas earlier on, and then you had Milton, not so much around Valdosta, but this has just not been a good year. And going back last year, Adalia, of course, came through, and Adalia had a flash flood emergency for Valdosta. But, with this, I mean, last night especially, it was something that it's got to be